Hey kids, I'm just here to give you a recap on your drawing lesson plan, or your drawing lesson, and how we're practicing dynamic posing. Remember what the project statement is. You need to pick a dynamic pose, whether it be from a movie, a video game, a comic book, any form of media you can think of. We need to find a dynamic posing, and without tracing, we're not doing tracing, guys. I can tell when someone traces. If I catch anyone tracing, there's going to be issues. But you need to remember, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. We're not tracing. You need to recreate the pose as accurately as possible using anatomical figures. So we're not going to get into super detail in terms of face structure. We're purely just recreating our poses. You need 3 of them. 3 dynamic poses are due. And I'm going to show you guys. These can be from imagination if you think you can handle that, but I'm not making that required. You can have references. But I'm going to show you guys how you would go about making sure your anatomy is a bit on point. But please bear with me because I'm using my pen and I don't have as much control with said pen. I'm still going to be doing my best, guys. So let me go ahead and swap over and we'll get started. So whenever you're doing a dynamic pose, I'll do the one I most commonly do. Whenever you're doing a dynamic pose, you always want to start with the spine. The spine almost always helps with figuring out where the rest of the body goes. So you got your spine. Remember, you have your chest and your waist are all connected to the spine. Head, chest, and waist. So I like to use circles, but whatever shapes fit for you guys work. You've got your chest. You've got your head, and your head is just a little bit about as big as your chest. Not always. There are instances where that's not the case, but most commonly you'll find it functioning that way. And just for simplicity's sake, you can mark I recommend marking the little cross that you see on most anatomy faces, so you know which way is the front and which way is the back. So we've got our chest pumped out. We've got our waist. We're going to start putting our waist in. Remember, your waist isn't that far from your chest, guys, so I don't want to see it all the way down here. I don't want to see it all the way over here. You're going to see it's normally just a little underneath your chest. It's not that far between your rib cage and the top of your hip bone. Like, if you actually sit there, normally you'll have about, from the lowest point of the side of your ribs to the hip bone, you'll have about this much of a gap. It's not that big, so you got to keep that in mind when you're making your anatomy. And to mark your hip bone, you can just do little, this is the hip bone, it's right around here, shapes like this. And I think we're going to do an action chest out pose. So we'll put a shoulder here, a shoulder will be back here. I don't mind if I see shapes overlapping. That's how you make sure you get accurate anatomy, is drawing what you can't see. So even though this shoulder is behind the chest, it's still good to go ahead and lay it out. Just don't get too detailed with it or you'll start making it confusing. So you got your arms. Again, your arms are not that long. When you segment your arm apart, you've got, they're all the same. So this is about the same length as this. This part is the same length as this part. The same with your legs. They may be a little longer. That's dependent on who you are as a person. But you'll find that your legs tend to be, the segments tend to be the same length. So you're not going to have legs that look like, let's say, hip, shin. You're not going to get that. The only time you get stuff like this is in animals. Because animals' structures are built differently. So you'd have a digitigrade leg like this. And if you notice on animals, this part usually equals the length of this part. Just a little side tangent. But remember, we're doing a dynamic pose. And dynamic can be as simple as dynamic simply means it's not a pose, T pose. At least for this project. I'm wanting to see stuff that's not just a guy standing. I don't want this. I don't want this. I want to see a dynamic. So like it could be someone relaxing against a window. It could be someone like sprawled out laying on their back, but just something that's not your common stances. I want to see something unique. And when you go in, you'll add your joints. It's always good to hit the joints, because when you go in to make your shaping, you want to kind of scale it to the size. Like your hip joint is pretty big, your knee joint's a little small, and when you come down, your ankle joint is a little smaller than that. And remember, your foot also has joints, guys. Your toes are joints, your fingers are joints, your palm is joints. Like this, joint, 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 joint. This is a multitude of joints, all little bones just helping you rotate and twist. You know, joints, joints. You've got all these joints, guys. Don't forget your joints. I've had multiple students in the past just forget their joints. You can't quite forget your joints, or you're just not going to be able to move. But and then you just start filling in. Once you get your lines in, you can start filling in with your muscle. You go in, you start connecting bones with tissue. So for example, this is the waist. Your waist starts to fill out. You get your keister. Then you come in and you start putting in your thighs. And then you go from your thighs, you go to your calves. And if you go in and you start noticing that it's starting to look a little funky, like this foot here is going to look a little funky, you can go in and fix it. You know what it's supposed to look like, so you are more than capable of making adjustments as you go. These are all sketches, guys. This is all preliminary. You got your other foot going down here. Your other arm will come out, so now you're being able to start seeing that other side. You know, the fist will go here, poses up here, and then your neck will tend to be somewhat triangular shaped. But remember, when you fill in your jaw, it starts to take up that triangle. Not the most perfect thing, but you've got a dynamic pose now. And this is what I'm wanting to look at. I'm wanting to see 3 of these based off whatever pose you want. I don't care if it's from a movie. I don't care if it's from a comic book. I don't care if it's Batman, Superman, Deadpool, Wolverine, John Wick, anyone. I don't care if it's a Fortnite splat. It's just got to be something dynamic, something interesting to look at. And remember, that's due in 2 weeks. You have more than enough time to get it done. The more you do, the more of a buffer your grade's going to have. So if you give me like 10, your chance of getting a better grade is going to go up. The requirement is 3. The requirement will be 3. But any failed sketches, anything like that, you can turn them in and get some extra, like get some bonus points off that. But yeah, guys, that's it. Enjoy.